serious. So whether you are a team leader or a team member or an aspiring entrepreneur who has a desire to thrive within your working organization or business, or maybe you are looking at exiting and being headhunted by another company or start your new business, this series is perfect for you. Hi, I'm Lee Stem, and I've been working with leaders just like you for over 20 years now, and I help them to thrive within their workplace and businesses. Before I get into today's video, firstly, I would like to acknowledge all the positive feedback that I'm getting from my community from the last video, and that was around building your confidence within the workplace. It has shown me there's a high demand and importance on being able to disassociate yourself with all the drama at work and to build your confidence and emotional resilience, especially if you're required to stay within a difficult, challenging working environment. If you haven't watched the first video, then go ahead, check it out, go through the coaching activity sheets, gain your insights, and explore your internal drivers that determine your confidence level. Once you have checked out the previous video, then come on back to me and look at today's video. I'll be teaching you how to prepare for that important conversation, and I'll be waiting for you. Understanding how people normal behavior patterns are will help you to remain calm and poised and plan a strategy to keep the conversation focused on your desired outcome. We are going to be covering a lot of ground again today, and we're going to go a bit deeper into this topic of preparing for that important conversation whilst understanding how others will normally respond to you. I am guessing that the reason why you're watching this video is probably that you are avoiding having those conversations, or maybe you do have those conversations and you walk away feeling pressured, frustrated, overwhelmed, and you want things to change. And if you are in a challenging working environment, you may feel a level of emotional exhaustion as you face the continual dysfunctional behaviors that are upheld by others. You may be wanting to go to work and just completely shut out the drama, let go of pressure to prove yourself, and to speak up and take a stance around your principles, and to be recognized and respected for your continued contribution as a high performer. Perhaps you want to sleep better at night without taking home and holding on to that negativity, so you can spend more quality time with your partner, connecting and doing things that are important to you. Maybe you're even preparing to be headhunted by another company that provides the culture that cares for their employees, or gosh, even feeling excited about the possibility of starting up your own business. But before we start today's lesson, please take a moment to download the PDF coaching activity sheets to follow throughout the video. Let me pop on over now to the slide deck and go through today's teaching points on how to have that important conversation, to prepare for it, that needs to be spoken. Welcome to preparing for your important conversation. I love this saying, failing to plan is planning to fail. So take a moment now and download your activity sheet for the day, a coaching activity sheet. The PDF is located underneath this video. Grab hold of that and follow through the activities as we go through today's slides. Ask yourself, how do you currently handle difficult conversations? What do you do well with those conversations, and where do you need to improve yourself when you have those difficult conversations as well? Now, perhaps you wrote down that maybe you avoid those conversations where you just want them to go away, and you think that by not saying anything that you're flying under the radar and everything will smooth out eventually. Now, we know with conflict that avoiding does not really work, because the issues are never addressed And what happens is the issues start to pile up within yourself, like the pressure cooker. So, something happens, you don't address it, and something else happens, more incidents happen, you never address it, and eventually you become that pressure cooker. And when you become that pressure cooker, you then communicate with emotions. And those emotions may be anger-based, they may be feeling frustrated, you may start to cry because you've allowed to have all these emotions that have been suppressed when you haven't communicated. So it's not a good idea to avoid conflict or not to say anything. And some of you may even do it differently. You may walk away from the conversation feeling like you're not heard. So you have no issues with talking up and stating your case, but maybe it's looking at how are you doing that, remembering body language, tonality, and all the words come into as well. Looking at your body language, if you're feeling angry inside or frustrated or whatever inside because you haven't been listened to, then your body language will be actually demonstrating your internal feelings. So it's lots of times it may even be a situation where you haven't even prepared for the conversation. So you kind of get caught halfway through and you don't respond in the way that you would like to respond as well. So let's look at how can we walk away feeling like we're heard, and how can we have those conversations as a person following the principles of leadership and also self-empowerment. So first of all, why is it so important to speak up anyway? So it really helps you to relieve that mental stress around feeling powerless at work. It will also help you to gain more respect when you speak up immediately. That's with your colleagues and also your managers above you, and also increases your level of confidence. So when you do speak up, you feel like you've been heard, you feel like you've got a voice, and people start to recognize that you're a person who will stand by your principles. It also will strengthen your influence within the organisation as well. And of course, it's going to accelerate your career opportunities as people start to see and value your opinion and the way that you put forward your ideas with confidence. And I think it's also very important to set expectations of how you want to be treated within the teams as a team leader or a team member or an aspiring entrepreneur. So first of all, understanding from our last video, we talked a lot about it's so important to your mindset, that have that confidence and having that strengthened mindset as well. So here are some tips of actually when you go away and to prepare for that conversation, you take a moment to look at your inner game. And how you can do that is grab yourself a pen or paper on the computer and just write down your thoughts around the incident or the conversation that you are wanting to have. Also, it's important also to relax and take a deep breath sometimes, because when we're under stress, lots of times we hold our breath. So it's about relaxing, really getting to that mindset of approaching this on a logical level instead of an emotional level. I also think it's really important that we listen with empathy. So we're looking at the other person as though we're putting ourselves in their shoes. So it's looking through their eyes as to what happened in the situation. And this can be difficult because we all have our own filters. And if someone has been disrespecting us or treating us unfairly, then it's hard for us to push that aside and have empathy towards them as well. So this is something, it's really about when you put yourself in someone else's shoes, you kind of start to understand the reasons why they're actually doing this kind of behaviour. And let go of expectations. So, this is where you realise what you've got control over and what you haven't got control over. Now, you have 100% control of going through the process of having a difficult conversation. But you don't always have control of the outcome of the conversation. So it's really about letting go of the outcome but focusing on the process. And of course, when you're focusing on the process, you're looking at making sure you're prepared, making sure that you understand the other person's behaviour styles, the communication styles, you're gathering your evidence, everything that you need to do as well, but it's also letting go of expectations. And also to remain positive. To remain positive, the conversation is a way to overcome barriers. It's a way to actually move forward instead of not addressing the issue and staying stuck in there as well. And send out positive energy. Your non-verbal communication is 57%. So if you're sitting back, withdrawn, not really wanting to have that conversation, it's got to communicate that to the other person as well. So to have that energized, the way that you speak, you have your eye contact, the energy also demonstrating that you have confidence as well to speak up and have this conversation as well. So strengthening your inner game is extremely important. Now, we also want to make sure that we're preparing some of the tools for our conversations. So the very first thing is always making sure that you're addressing it with personal integrity. So are you having the conversation to prove a point? Are you having a conversation to retaliate back to someone? So it's important to have that personal integrity, that if you're a professional person within the office, and the reason why you want to have that conversation could be setting the intention of, I want to build a better professional relationship with this person, and I want us to follow the values of our teams, and us to cooperate together and work together so we all enjoy coming to work and feeling that we have the feeling that we can approach each other in a respectful way within the organisation. So that's setting the intention first. What do you want to achieve from having this conversation with this person? What is your outcome that you would like to achieve with that person? We also need to have a look at setting the assumptions aside as well. So we all have assumptions. Assumptions is, why is this person actually behaving like this towards us? So sometimes our assumptions are not real. Sometimes our assumptions, we may be distorting it as well with our filters. So it's writing down our assumptions and letting the assumptions go, because we want to base the conversation on reality and facts and not on our assumptions as well. And this is where it's important to have an increased level of self-awareness. So with this self-awareness, you're starting to understand how you tick, how you respond to difficult conversations yourself, and take responsibility to perhaps those buttons that can be pushed, and when they're pushed, then you may not communicate in a way that you would like to communicate as well. So we all have our buttons, and sometimes people know our buttons and they try and push it to get a reaction from us instead of being able to respond to the situation. I also believe that having a curiosity and an inquiry mind helps you to actually be able to ask really strong probing or clarification questions during the difficult conversation. So you're approaching it as though you want to know more, that you really want to understand and listen to the other's point of view as well. So having that inquiry mindset as well. And then, of course, know the other person. Start to understand their communication style. Start to understand their motivating drivers. Really start to take time to understand people around you that you need to have a professional relationship with. And through that understanding, then you can actually adapt your communication style so you become very similar to them as well. And this then creates rapport really quickly, which obviously influences them in the type of relationship that you have with them as well. Lots of people like to know that you care about them, and showing them that you do care will help you to strengthen the relationship with them. And of course, the stronger your relationships are within the company or even personal life, when you do make mistakes, they become more forgiving of you as well. So I love this quote. It is more powerful. Okay, we have covered a lot of ground today. Let's take a moment, take a deep breath, and I want you to be really honest with yourself. Many people avoid setting the boundaries and having those important conversations because the timing is not right. You know, they say, I just want to wait until check in to see if that person is in a good mood or not. Or they're walking around eggshells wondering when is a good time to bring up this topic. And some people even wait until they're invited for feedback before they will speak up and be heard. I have even had clients who try to bring up the topic and are simply brushed off by the other person saying they haven't got time to listen to you right now. So there is many different ways and excuses why perhaps you don't have those conversations. But I want you to know that the person who initiates the conversation, the person who starts the conversation, will be the person who has the advantage immediately. The reason being is they're controlling the conversation. And when you speak up with respect and assertiveness, then you will be able to guide the conversation towards the direction that you're seeking. Remember, there will never be a perfect time for anything. It is about what is your top priority. What is your willingness to step into perhaps the unknown territory and to be able to speak up and be heard. Now, Renata is one of my clients, and she came to me recently and she avoided conversations. And Renata was a newly appointed leader and her teams were disrespecting her. And this is what Renata has to say after she had those difficult conversations that previously she avoided.
I sort of have a middle management role in a government organization, and we work with children that come into state care. So that is a really stressful, difficult role to be in. People obviously do this because they have a passion for what they do, but this area is high pressure, lots of demands. I'm fairly new into my management role, probably about 9 months now. So it's been a really difficult transition for me, being on the floor, one of the frontline workers, and then transitioning with my peers into a management role. So it was for me about having the confidence in myself, knowing that I have that in me. But I think part of what happened to me is I just went down a spiral because I started questioning my own knowledge. That eroded my confidence more. So it just became this vicious cycle. And I was just really starting not to enjoy this role that I wanted for so many years.
And before you did the program, did you avoid having those conversations, the difficult
Yes,
conversations?
absolutely. And I think that's part of the problem, because then I start beating myself up and I'm not stepping up, and then it's just yeah. So the conversation made me actually break it down, and having a bit of a strategy gives me the confidence that I've actually got control of where we're going. So and taking the time, and I know that if I apply this over time, I'll get more confident and better at having these conversations.
I was so impressed in the transformation that Renata went through, but she made a commitment. She made a commitment to work upon herself and to invest in herself as well. A lot of my clients and community members find themselves in a situation where they are being bullied by a co-worker who is actually friends with their managers within the workplace, and they want to know how to approach this situation. And this comes down to understanding your manager to see if they follow the principles of leadership. Many times we assume things without actually addressing the situation. So if this is something that you're doing and you haven't addressed the situation, what I'm asking you is put aside your assumptions, have the conversation and get evidence of reality. So this is about self-awareness and having the first stepping stone, which is about asking yourself those powerful questions. And some of those powerful questions are to ask yourself is this assumptions? Is this something, a barrier, self-imposed barrier I'm putting up so I don't have to actually have that conversation? And of course, the answer lies within yourself. And if you are having those conversations and you're walking away feeling really frustrated and pressured and overwhelmed, then maybe stop and do some real self-reflection and looking at where you need to develop your skills further. You know, where did you lose your power? Was there part of the conversation that you withdrew within yourself because the other person maybe posed a point of view that you didn't feel confident to address? There are so many factors that need to be looked at to look at one, if you are going to thrive and stay in a challenging environment, then it's absolutely essential that you speak up and be heard, and at the same time, really looking at your emotional resilience so that you can maintain your confidence and stop doubting yourself. Each time you step up and have those important, difficult conversations, you will not only develop the skill set of communication mastery, you'll also be able to strengthen your confidence level. Now, I want to reveal to you as to what's coming up in your next video. I will be taking you through your personal roadmap to move from struggling and through to becoming an influencer within the workplace. You're going to absolutely love this one. It is one of my favorite topics, which leads to self-empowerment. And you will also be able to download this roadmap and walk through the coaching activities so you can thrive and influence within your current workplace. So watch out for your inbox for the release of your next video, which is your personal roadmap from struggle to influencer within the workplace. Now, I want to hear from you. Think of someone who you would like to have that conversation with. How do you think they will respond once you step up and initiate that conversation? They will either go into denial, they'll go to defend or deflect. Write down below in the comments which one you think that they normally do when they're confronted. Now, if you found this video valuable, please share it with at least 3 other people that you know, especially if they have any thoughts of speaking up and wanting to thrive within a workplace. It's easier to start your journey when you are supported by others who are experiencing the similar situation as yourself and understand you. But right now, scroll down and hit the like button. Everyone likes to be liked, especially me as well, and appreciate it. And then leave a comment below around the insight that you gained from today's video. I look forward to seeing you on the next video, which is around creating your own personal roadmap, which will move you from struggling to thriving and influencing within the workplace.